So finally we come to the pictorial understanding of the nitrogen nutrition in plants, and with this we will come to the end of the topic, that is mineral nutrition. And of course we are going to see how a nodule is being formed in case of leguminous plants. So for understanding this you need to recall what we have understood in the previous lesson, that the nitrogen would be taken up by the plant and it must be in the form of either nitrates or nitrites, or it could be directly present in the form of ammonia. So you see that because the nitrogen cycle, the entire nitrogen cycle, its recycling and its addition to the atmosphere, it is atmospheric cycle, it is gaseous cycle. So what is the source of nitrogen? That is atmospheric nitrogen. Our atmosphere is abundant of nitrogen, so that nitrogen would be taken up by the nitrogen fixing bacteria which are present in the leguminous plants, as in the case of rhizobium we discussed, that takes up the nitrogen, it converts it into ammonia, and as you can see in this plant they have shown little small nodules over here. It would be taken up directly by the plant and assimilation would take place. In other case, when this biological nitrogen fixation is not taking place, then we come to the physical agency. We have yet again that won't be physical, I am sorry, it would be again biological, but here the bacteria will not be symbiotic. That means they would not be forming the legumes. What happens over here is that non-symbiotic bacteria, those nitrogen fixing soil bacteria, they convert this atmospheric nitrogen into ammonium. Alright, there are enzymes like nitrate reductase, nitrite reductase, which convert the nitrogen, atmospheric nitrogen, into ammonium ions. Later on the bacteria like nitrosomonas and nitrobacter, they convert the ammonium into nitrites followed by conversion into nitrates, and this is nitrifying bacteria. Nitrification takes place over here. Alright, so we have two processes. This process we studied in detail, that a nodule is being formed. What about the process in which the bacteria is not associated with the soil? That means they have to provide those soil bound nitrogen, which we said that nitrogen is present in the soil itself apart from the atmospheric nitrogen. That soil bound nitrogen or the ions, that is being converted by the nitrogen fixing soil bacteria, which have those enzymes present in them which have the ability to convert the atmospheric nitrogen first into ammonium ions, followed by the conversion of ammonium ions into nitrites and nitrates later on, so that they are available for assimilation to the plants. Alright. This is the entire process, how the plants take up the nitrates from the soil. So we have nitrification which is taking place, and we have nitrifying bacteria which are converting the ammonium into nitrites, and they are converting the nitrites into nitrates. These nitrates, they are taken up by the plants for the various processes, and the nitrates which are taken up, the plant would accumulate those nitrates into its various biomolecules, like amino acids would take up the nitrates, the nucleotides would take up these nitrates from the soil itself, and as you can see, entire world which is that biological world would strive on nitrogen for plants. That is how crucial this nitrogen nutrition is for the entire biomass production. And apart from this, how these nitrates and how the nitrogen whichever has been taken up from the atmosphere is added back to the atmosphere, that is done by few denitrifying bacteria which convert the nitrates back into the gaseous form of nitrogen that is added into the atmosphere. So this is all about understanding the nitrogen nutrition in a gross way, that how it takes place. About their biochemical ways we have understood in the previous lecture. Next we are going to pictorially understand that how a nodule formation takes place. I tried to explain it to you with a simple diagram that I made. Now you are going to see this way. This diagram is quite common, you would find this in many books if you see how the nodule formation is being explained. As you can see, this is the rhizosphere of the particular root which we are discussing, a leguminous plant's rhizosphere. These are the soil particles. In these soil particles, bacteria are present. You can see the bacteria get accumulated near the root hairs, and a hook is being formed. That curling of the root hair takes place, which forms the hook. Through this hook, the bacteria are going to get inside the root and form the infection thread which reaches till the inner cortex. In the inner cortex, they are going to form the mature nodule. which would have bacteroids inside it. The cortex would surround those bacteroids so that the oxygen scavenger leg hemoglobin comes into the scenario. It makes the bacteria devoid of oxygen so that the enzyme nitrogenase comes into the scenario. So this is all about the nitrogen nutrition you had to understand. This was all about, you had to understand about the mineral nutrition, how the plants they take up the various nutrients, and out of all, nitrogen was most important. So we have studied it in a bit of detail. So that is all you have to understand about plants. I hope you have understood how the plants survive, how they take up the nutrients in a very good manner. Thank you.